Hello, everybody. This is Fernando for the latest Ghost and Horror Stories Encounters video. Once again, I'm mixing another one of these in here, mainly because the information that I found on this entry is really creepy stuff. In fact, the title of it definitely made it stand out, and it comes from a subreddit called True Scary Stories, which is actually getting better and better. I'm liking those entries more every single time I find something to talk about. But it comes from a user by the name of Cold Spiritual 6943. This is the title. This is why it caught my attention. It's called Driving Through Hellfire. As you can see, it's going to be a pretty memorable encounter. And when I was reading the information on it, it definitely lived up to its expectation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's share this encounter here. I'll give my own thoughts and opinions. Let me know what you guys and gals think as well. So, I'm not even sure where to begin. The women in my family, including myself, have had this sixth sense for as long as I can remember. We've had dreams and visions that have come through, as well as a few personal encounters with what we now believe to be spirits or some kind of evil energy. Yes, we are all spiritual people, but no matter how many times these things happen, we still can't get a grasp on why or how these things continue to be so drawn to us. So what I'm about to tell you, as crazy as it may seem, is a completely true story. Other than my immediate family, no one else knows. I don't talk about this. I don't enjoy having to relive what happened, but I'm hoping this will help others who share the spiritual gift. So here goes. To set the scene, I live in a very rural place in a small town that has maybe a few thousand residents, but we're all so spaced out and hidden in the hills, you never know that many people live here. My town isn't anything fancy. We don't have the most up-to-date stores and all that, but for the most part, we're all happy and thankful for what we do have. The neighborhoods were like mini communities. We all cared and helped one another. Everyone was friends with everyone, and we all knew each other's business. It was the middle of spring, lovely weather in the mornings and nights, but as the day went on, you could feel the heat steadily rise. As the heat rose, families came outside to bask in the bright sunlight while young kids laughed and played. This spring day was just like any other day. I got up, got ready for school, and left to go listen to mundane lectures for the next 8 hours. I'll never forget that feeling I had when I sat and daydreamed, wishing time would go faster just for the school day. That little glimmer of hope would trickle up into my brain when the clock finally read 3 p.m. It's time to go home. It's time to go home. Oh, thank God, I thought to myself as the 3 p.m. bell rattled my ears. So I rush home, as always, even though I know the only thing that I'm rushing towards is a mountain of homework. It's like my mind plays tricks on me, making me think that simply being out of school and at home is a relaxing reward for getting through the day. Although there wasn't any actual relaxing, it was just more stress in a comfortable environment. So I hustled through the multiple pages, completing every problem with a bit of skepticism, questioning my intelligence, but nonetheless, I talked myself up and got through it. Before I know it, the clock reads 8 p.m. Time to eat and shower, and then I can rest for the first time today. I complete these remaining 2 tasks and gleefully skip to my bedroom. I slip on whatever large t-shirt I could find and then jump into my large pink bed, letting the comfort of my soft pillows and furry covers overtake me as I slowly sink into the mattress. Now, I'm one of those people that are woken up very easily. I'm not kidding. A mouse could fart and it would wake me up. So when I felt my eyelids trying to shut, I took full advantage. I tuck myself in, get comfortable, and go straight to sleep. Now, these next events are questionable to say the least. I still to this day have no idea why God showed me what he did. I've even questioned if it was God that showed me this or if this was the work of the devil. The very second my eyelids shut, I'm no longer asleep in my cozy bed. I'm in the passenger seat of a small black truck, an SN, a truck that I've never seen in person, let alone been in before, and I'm hot. I'm so hot. I instantly feel gobs of sweat pour down my face and chest. My once comfortable t-shirt is already drenched in heavy sweat, clinging to my body. It's like my physical body had been here for much longer than my mind was aware of. The heat instantly sends my mind into a frenzy. Intrusive thoughts race through every crevice of my brain as my breath becomes shallow, as if my lungs were incapable of inhaling this boiling air. So I frantically look around the black interior of the truck, trying to find a door handle to get out, but there isn't one. That's when I notice that I am now not the only passenger, at least in the truck, but the truck is moving. And so I glance over to the driver's seat to see a large, black, blurry figure that looks like the outline of a person. It's like these black pixels that are constantly moving, yet making sure to keep the outline visible. And it is driving this truck. As I'm staring at this black outline with total bewilderment, something even more terrifying catches my attention. We're in the old hollow that I grew up in as a child. Same little red house my neighbor and I played at daily, the same tire swing my cousin and I spent many evenings on, the same blacktop that was eaten away with more potholes than you can count. It was all there, all the things I grew to love and cherish, but everything was on fire. The trees were glowing bright yellow, so bright it was like you could sense the vibration of the intense flames just by looking at them. The grass was swaying with vibrant colors of yellow and orange as the fire consumed every inch of this world. The road was even engulfed in these extraordinary flames, like we were magically driving on molten lava, yet I could still feel every pothole that the truck went over. Tears fill my eyes, and just for a moment I forget that my body feels like it's burning. But then I hear the screams that were coming from the fire. These high-pitched screams were cries of agony and despair. You don't ever forget screams like this. Screams that make your blood curdle and your stomach turn. Screams that are so prominent, it's like you can feel their pain. So my body tightens uncontrollably, and I'm met with an immense feeling of sorrow. I can no longer talk or move. I'm frozen in place. I'm forced to witness the best memories of my childhood and the people I love burn to ash in this world made of fire. This black figure continues to drive us further in my old hollow that is now immersed in blazing flames and cries of torment. This continues for what seems like forever. How do I get out? Get me out. These were the only thoughts I could muster. And so the black figure suddenly turns to me, and I'm jolted awake. I wake up, drenched in sweat, as if I had just come out of a sauna, considering the AC was set to 68 degrees, and I had my fan on, per usual. I knew the sweat had to be from the flames of my dream. I start hysterically crying and went straight to my mother's bedroom. Now keep in mind, I'm a teenager. Running to my mother's bedroom because of a bad dream is something I haven't done since I was a very young child. I frantically wake her up and try to relive this nightmare I narrowly escaped, just long enough to explain why I was so utterly terrified. As I opened my mouth, my words seemed to melt together, as if I were babbling like a baby, not making any sense. Without full comprehension of why her daughter was crying uncontrollably, Mom instantly wrapped her loving arms around me and started praying in that same sweet tone she used when I got hurt as a small child. After a few minutes of consoling, I realized that I'm safe now, and that brings just enough comfort, so I forced back my tears and random babbling. Thinking that the unnerving night was nearing its end was a soothing feeling that allowed me to drift back off to sleep in my mother's arm. However, that relief was short-lived. Fast forward to 2 days later. Again, normal day for me, but at least on this day I had a hair appointment to look forward to. It feels nice to have a tiny bit of excitement for more than just going home after school. I get to the salon, which so happens to be owned by my cousin, Laura. Like I said, it's a small town. I happily strut in the salon and sit down, smiling ear to ear, simply happy to have a minuscule change of scenery. Laura and I start off with the normal nice formalities. How are you? How's your day been? Etc. Silence freshens the air for all of 3 seconds before she sighs and says, "Did you hear about Ben?" Ben is our cousin. I grew up with him and his sister when I was a child. Back then, our whole neighborhood was very well connected and close, so everyone knew everyone, and we all cared for one another. I hadn't seen Ben in many years, though. We moved out of that neighborhood when I was in the 5th grade, and Ben and I lost touch. As soon as Laura said Ben, my mind flooded with memories of my childhood, the days that seemed to go by in a flash. Climbing hills, swinging on tire swings, wading through the creek. My body felt warm as nostalgia filled my every thought. I did everything I could to push back what I had seen just 2 nights ago, my childhood in those energetic flames. But that nostalgia was quickly interrupted when Laura hands me photos of what looked to be a black S10 truck. The truck looked like bent up chunks of metal scattered across the scuffed up pavement. As badly as the truck was torn apart, I already knew there was no way possible for anyone to survive that. It was nothing more than scraps, surrounded by broken glass and blood. But as I continue to stare at the photos with immense disbelief, I can't shake the feeling that I know this truck. I know that black interior, I know the entire inside of the vehicle, yet I know I never actually rode in a black S10. The nightmare, I thought as my eyes widened and my breath shortened. That's how I know this truck. This was the truck that black figure trapped me in while we drove through Hellfire. I had no idea that Ben had a black S10. Again, I hadn't talked to him in years. Turns out Ben had been partying for his 21st birthday. He had also been drinking alcohol. I mean, who wouldn't drink on their 21st birthday? But the mistake he made was driving home after he was drinking. He wrecked and passed away in the same hollow that black figure drove me through. The same hollow where all of our childhood memories were made. The same hollow that was eaten by flames 2 nights ago. The same night I had this nightmare is the same night Ben passed away. The outline of a person that was driving us through my old hollow was Ben. The last spot in my hollow that I had seen before I startled awake was the place where Ben had died. I still have so many questions. Should I have focused harder on my nightmare? Why was I the only one that experienced this? Why me? What should I have done differently? And the question that still fills my soul with peril, could I have saved his life? Then that's it. That's everything associated with this encounter from the user's code spiritual 6943. So let's talk about that here. Very fascinating story, right? Again, they say it's a true story. Even the title of the subreddit is True Scary Stories. So for brevities, let's go ahead and we'll go with that. So if you believe this is a true story, then essentially what happened was this user at that dead of night closed their eyes, and then all of a sudden they were in the inside of that truck. They were surrounded by hellfire. They were absolutely just scared out of their mind. Their body was drenched in sweat from it. Their entire older neighborhood, childhood neighborhood, was just completely engulfed in flames. And then turning to their left on the driver's side, there was that black figure. It looked pixelated. It looked like the form of a person, but that was about it. It kept changing, but the solid figure was still there. How creepy is that? This thing knew who it was, like in other words, in the truck with them, and they were purposely placing this user through a memory or something associated with that old neighborhood, and almost like in a joy, they saw that this user was freaking the F out as far as seeing everything that they knew and that they loved just completely being consumed with hellfire. And so because of it, they in turn woke up just at that moment when they hit a hollow. And then, of course, the rest of the story states that it was that exact time that this user was having this experience matched this guy, Ben, who had apparently gone drinking on his 21st birthday, had the same type of truck, the S10 truck, and then was driving it and then went basically right there straight into crash from the drinking of the alcohol. So it was all at the exact same time. So what was happening to Ben was somehow being placed, whatever it was, to this user, almost as if it was out of sheer evil joy, if you will, because this thing, whatever it was, knew that Ben was going to die and knew who they loved, and so they wanted this other person to experience that as well. Creepy stuff. The more you think about it, the more levels there are when it comes to that overall creepiness. And then those high-pitched screams, those cries of agony and despair, and then also the different types of fire. There was grass that was on fire. There was yellow and orange fire. It was just creepy stuff. I've seen videos online, obviously like the recent poor circumstance involving in Maui, and then those fires there, and then people driving through those fires. It is otherworldly. Imagine seeing something like that. But here, in this case, the user was like that, but like level 10 at this point. How creepy is that as well? I wanted to share this story too because it reminded me of another story. I'll see if I'll talk about that later on. It was about a guy, I think it was the title of his book called 22 Minutes in Hell or 20 Minutes in Hell, something like that, where he in turn somehow went into hell during 20 minutes of, I guess, some sleep and then came back. And it was about him being there, being trapped in some cell, and then there was these demons, and then there was just insane cries of millions of people below him, just something that would have, he thought, never been imaginable, but it was happening. So that's what it reminded me of. So I might talk about that story later on too. But let me know what you guys and gals think. Is this for real deal? Is this something involving this user somehow driving through hellfire while his cousin Ben was going pretty much through the last moments of his life? All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.